Hello and welcome to another training video, and this one is another in the GIS in Excel series. And for this video we're going to start taking a look at how we can get our maps into Excel or into a format that Excel can understand. So we need to understand where we're going to get these maps from. Now if you can simply download them, that's perfect, but it may be that you're looking at a specialized region which is not already available. And so we'll see how we can create these. There are a couple of steps we need to go through, and there's also a couple of very useful websites I'm going to show you. So now be aware these websites may change. They're offering a free service, so they reserve the right to cancel that at any time. Now this is an excellent website, and it's called CADMapper. Now what it lets you do is zoom in to any location on a world map, and it then renders that map as a vector file, which is compatible with, let's say, AutoCAD. And that's the one that we're going to use. We're going to use an AutoCAD file. Now, we just come down here and click on Get Started Creating a File, but just before we do that, I'll show you that if you scroll down, you'll see that actually you can get city maps of the entire world, and these are available for free. Now, if I go into this Get Started, you'll notice this takes me in and shows me a map, and within that map we've actually got different regions or areas within that map. Now I can zoom in and out just using the wheel on the mouse, and as soon as I zoom out, so if you look down here, this is a free file up to 1 square kilometer. As soon as I zoom out beyond that, I'm given the option to purchase the file, and it tells me on the right hand side what the cost of purchasing that file is. And the more I zoom out, the more expensive it's going to be, because the more detail is actually included in there. Now do bear in mind, if you're zoomed out to this level, there's a good chance you'd benefit from having the whole of the London file. So rather than actually paying for it, just remember that the city maps are available for free. So if the city you're interested in is on that list, then it's probably available for free already. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom in on this area here. Now, this is actually St. Paul's Cathedral. And what you can do is you can resize or reshape the area that you're interested in just to get the area of interest fitted within the boundaries you want. It does work relative to a center point, so if you move it in one direction, you might then need to reposition the map to take account of that. Okay, so I've got this small map here available, and I'm going to say create a file. Now what the machine does is it creates a file ready for me to download, and it will show me a preview of what it will look like as a line drawing. So this is my line drawing here, and it's showing me an axiomatic view. I'm going to click on 2D view because that's pretty much always what I want. It doesn't make any difference. This is just a view of the file. It's not the actual file itself. But because I'm going to be using it in an overhead projection, it's more useful for me to actually see it like this. Okay, so that has all of the detail in it that I want. So I can now come across here and hit the download key. And I'm just going to download this onto my desktop just to make it easy to find. And it does come in as a zip file. That's purely for download purposes. And the reason is because there are 2 files included in the zip. One of them is a license file. So if I go into where the zip file is, there it is there. And I can now right click on there and I'll just double click on it instead and extract. And it's extracted to the same location. I can now go into there, and you'll see that in there's actually the file I'm interested in, which is a DXF, which is an exchange format. So it's a drawing interchange format, as they call it. And there's also a text license to tell me what I'm allowed and not allowed to do with this file I've downloaded. Now the next website we're going to have a look at is actually how we convert that, what's effectively an AutoCAD viewing file. We're going to convert it into something that we can use in Excel, because we're not able to import that directly into Excel. So if I tried and I said insert a picture from, and I put it on the desktop, So if I go to my desktop, we'll be able to see that there are no files there that we can import. And if I say all files, even though it's there, if I try and insert it, it comes up with a message saying it can't display that picture. So we know now that we can't insert an AutoCAD type drawing directly into Excel. So we first of all need to convert it into another format. And this is a very useful website. I'm sure there are lots out there, but do be careful, because some of them will convert in a way where they're converting viewed from a different direction. So what you may end up with is a straight line, because you're looking at it from ground level rather than looking at it from above. So just be aware of that when you're working with these images, that you have to be aware of the 3D element within them, and just try a couple of websites to see which one and which file type comes in correctly for what you're trying to do. So here what I do is I'm going to say select a file, and I'm going to select a file from my computer, and I'm going to go back to my desktop, and I'm going to find that DXF. So this is the AutoCAD drawing that I downloaded. I'm going to say open. So this is now going to upload that file there, and I'm going to choose what I want to convert it to. Now what you want is you want to go to vector if possible, and probably the best one to bring it in is an SVG, so scalable vector graphic, rather than WMF. Now both of those will open in Excel, but the SVG will almost always give you better results than the WMF, even though WMF is a Windows meta file, so it's a Windows format. The SVG gives you a cleaner format because it picks up the vectors directly from the vector in the DXF. Hit convert, it runs through, converts it, and then it makes that file available for me to download. So it does take a few seconds, and it's great that it gives me a preview here. This is where you'd notice if the screen was blank, don't go any further, don't bother downloading it, because it hasn't done the conversion correctly. So this is showing me St. Paul's Cathedral, showing me quite a lot of detail, and I'm happy with that, so I'm going to hit download. Now again, I'm going to choose where to save it. I'm going to put it on the desktop, and I'm going to put it there, and you'll notice it's going in as an SVG. As soon as it's downloaded, I can close that and minimize all that down. So here is my SVG file, and if I go into Excel, I can now insert illustrations, pictures from this device, and from my desktop, let me just go back to the desktop, there is my SVG. So I can insert this directly in to Excel. Now the thing we need to do now is we see over here we have a graphic as the object which is selected. Now this is come in as an SVG. What I need to do is I need to right click on it and ungroup. Now what this does is it converts it into a Microsoft Office drawing object. So I click OK, or yes in this case, and we now see that it's broken out all of the sub parts or the component parts of that, but this is still all grouped together. So if I turn off the whole group, the whole visibility of everything disappears. So what I actually need to do is I need to, with this selected, I need to ungroup it again. So the first time I did ungroup, it didn't actually ungroup it, it just converted it into a Microsoft Office drawing object. Now this time it has actually ungrouped it, and you'll notice that the group set over here no longer exists. I can scroll right the way down to the bottom, and I can see all the different shapes, and they are all called freeform something, which actually is not very helpful to me. What I need to do now is start naming them, and although there are lots and lots of different shapes, it doesn't really matter what most of these are called, because the code that we're going to use will go through them and only do an operation on them if it recognizes their name. In other words, if the name of the shape is in my data, which will relate to what I want to color them in as. Now if I come over here and just click on, let's say that there, it selects the object which is bounded by the box. Now in this instance it is the actual square here which is bounded by the box. Now if you're not sure what it is you've got selected, the easiest way to find out is simply to come to shape format and just hover over a color, and you'll see that it's going to color it in with that color, and that will clearly show you what object it is you've got selected. Now if I go to the wall over here and click on that, now again I'm not quite sure what it's got selected, so I'm going to hover over one of these colors, and I can see that this is actually the whole of St. Paul's area. Now just to make sure, I'm going to click on that to make sure that that is now colored in. Doesn't matter, I can take this off again afterwards by applying no fill. The reason I did that is I want to rename this shape, and I'm going to rename that St. Paul's Cathedral. Now there's two ways of renaming. You can use the name box over here. However, this is quite limited in the functionality because I can't use the same name twice. Every name I enter in here needs to be unique. If I type in a name I've already used, it simply goes to and selects that name. If I change the name over here, I'm changing the name of the shape, not the defined name. There's two benefits here. One is I can have the same name more than once, and the other is I can use what I refer to as human speak. In other words, I can put spaces in the name, and that's what I'm going to do here. So I click once, I then select what's in there, if I can spell. So St. Paul's Cathedral, and I press enter. That has now named that shape St. Paul's Cathedral. If I click away and click back on the shape, I now see in my name box it's coming up saying St. Paul's Cathedral. Now if I wanted to, I could go through and name as many as the relevant shapes as I want. Now because I have actually put a fill color, what I can also do is I can click anywhere within this shape, whereas previously I had to click on the border of the shape to actually select it. Now if I say no fill, it's gone back to just having a line around the outside. Now here is where I would actually go through and maybe select to choose some of the component parts within St. Paul's rather than the whole of St. Paul's. And this might be so that I can give these all different names. I might have different exhibitions for visitors to come and see in the different areas. I might have different footfall monitors in these different areas, and I might want to also do some analysis to color code these either by what exhibition is going on there or by how many people visit per day. The choice is yours. I've just selected this shape here just to demonstrate, and notice that the bounding box has gone all the way around, and it's actually this rectangle here that's been selected, but of course we can just hover over to see what it is that's being selected. So that's the one I want to select. Now it's quite difficult for me to see actually where it is selected over here, and rather than looking at the number over here, if I just simply scroll down, do you see the flashing past as I scroll down quickly? So it's fairly easy to actually find it by scrolling down. And I'm just simply going to call this, let's call it Southeast. And I may as well choose this one and call this one Northeast as well. And again, just scroll up, scroll down, and as soon as you see it flashing past, that's the one you want. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is how we create a vector drawing that we can bring in from an AutoCAD format to bring in and then use with our VBA that we've got in the other files, and those files are available for you to download from one of the other videos on my GIS in Excel section. This is just how you would go through and name them all if they don't already have a name in the SVG, which if you bring them in as AutoCAD objects they won't have. You could choose to name the entire boundaries. You may have to join these particular boundaries together, and of course that's much easier to do in AutoCAD itself rather than here in Excel. So if you do have a copy of AutoCAD, it's much easier to do a lot of this in AutoCAD before you then bring it in. Now the way I've shown you, you don't need AutoCAD at all. But if you do have AutoCAD, I will show you how you can manipulate these in AutoCAD, and clearly then you can export directly from AutoCAD into a format that can be read by Excel. So you don't need those websites to do the conversion. Okay, the purpose of this video was to show you how you can create the files to use if you don't have AutoCAD or any high-end software, just simply by using a couple of websites which are free and easy to use. Okay, if you have found this useful, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Put your comments there if you've got any ideas for what I need to do extra. And my next video is going to look at how you would do the same thing providing you've got a copy of AutoCAD. Thank you for listening.